In the vast Atlantic Ocean, from New England to the Carolinas, there was a race to build America's new green energy industry. When you first heard that two big offshore wind projects were being canceled in New Jersey, what did you think?
Well, I thought finally people had seen the light.
What seems to be dimming the promise of wind energy is basic economics. This week, we investigate one power promise facing some strong headwinds.
Americans are facing a dangerous decline in health. Part of the problem is what we eat.
There has been a kind of a slide into the corrupt swamps of taking money from the ultra-processed food industry. And we can see the effects of it in our waistlines.
What is it you think the public should know in the big picture?
We ask a few questions about those who guide our directions on diet and who influences them. Our founding fathers created a special protection for those brave enough to speak out against fraud and misconduct in government. They were called whistleblowers.
The ultimate defenders of democracy are those who are willing to tell the truth and withstand the cost.
This week, a little history and a lot of respect for those who make a stand and often pay the cost for telling the truth.
Welcome to Full Measure. I'm Sharyl Attkisson. The federal government recently approved the first West Coast wind energy areas off the coast of Oregon to add to 6 along the East Coast. Meantime, power generated by Texas wind farms, the largest power market in America, fell a huge chunk in January due to low wind speeds. Lisa Fletcher looks at the shifting winds amid the Biden administration's ambitious plans to move toward this form of green energy.
Delaware's beautiful Atlantic shoreline has always drawn visitors to pristine beaches and abundant wildlife. But a recent arrival on the horizon has brought opportunity and controversy, and now the potential to unravel a key pillar of President Biden's renewable energy plans. Near the town of Lewis, the University of Delaware operates a single 2-megawatt wind turbine as a test bed and power source, helping to train a new generation of renewable power engineers and researchers. But the big goal for this state and many others up and down the Atlantic coast is out there, at sea. The vision: to build hundreds of wind turbines from the Carolinas to New England to help power America's future. If they get that built, they would also go a long way to meeting the White House's goal of generating 30,000 megawatts of offshore wind power by 2030, enough to power 10 million homes. 2 years ago, we were in Martha's Vineyard, the promised site of the newest commercial-scale offshore wind project called Vineyard Wind. It started producing power in January. By the end of this year, 5 turbines are scheduled to be turning. So a year ago, it looked like the industry had the wind at its back, with projects underway or planned up and down the coast. But then, in August, the giant Danish energy company Ørsted canceled 2 projects off New Jersey. The company saying high inflation, rising interest rates, and supply chain problems had doomed their 2,200 megawatt plans. For one congressman from Maryland, that economic bombshell was a breath of fresh air. When you first heard that two big offshore wind projects were being canceled in New Jersey, what did you think?
Well, I thought finally people had seen the light, that, people rising up and raising the objections to this really costly, just uncalled for way to produce energy. Finally, people are paying attention, and these companies, I think, realize that these roads are long and hard.
Andy Harris is a Republican representing Maryland's 1st congressional district that covers part of the state's coast. He's a vocal opponent of offshore wind.
It's just not ready for prime time. Now, maybe 10 years from now, it becomes economically more feasible. Great, let's revisit it. But right now, onshore wind, it's fine. It's economically viable. offshore wind is not.
There are politicians up and down the coast now questioning offshore wind's economic and environmental credentials. And scientists have raised concerns about what the turbines could do to marine habitats vital for whales, while fishermen worry the towers could displace their catch. The Biden administration and Congress have pumped tens of millions of dollars into subsidies to boost the offshore industry, but are now facing accusations that in their rush to build, they failed to properly assess the risks and costs of offshore wind. It's those costs that really worry Rob Book. He's the CEO of Delaware Electric Cooperative, serving more than 100,000 customers in the state.
I think we've got a way to go with respect to wind power off the shores of our coast here. In many cases, we've seen a lot of contracts come and recently go. 3 states that are right close to us, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, they have all had their contracts pulled because, quite frankly, the numbers don't work.
Because you buy power, so you're looking at things 5, 10, maybe even 20 years out. How does that work and then translate to me what the working equation would look like for a wind facility?
What we're seeing with respect to our numbers and where we buy power, it's kind of a differentiation of about 2.5 times for us to buy power from an offshore wind project versus where we buy power.
Rob, why do you think it's 2.5 times more expensive?
Well, it's not a cheap proposition. Let me make it very clear. You know, we are very interested in renewable resources for our power supply, but the numbers have to work.
But getting the numbers to work has become increasingly difficult amid high interest rates and inflation, not to mention the fact the U.S. lacks the factories and ships needed to rapidly build and install offshore all the wind projects planned. Back in Delaware, plans for developing an offshore wind farm are moving forward, but slowly, as even with federal tax credits, the costs are high for a small state. We asked the governor, Democrat John Carney, for comment. He didn't respond, nor did Lisa Blunt Rochester, the state's sole congresswoman. But local retiree and activist Peggy Schultz is delighted to talk up the benefits of offshore wind, even as many politicians are not.
One 800-megawatt project would supply 28% of Delaware's electricity. That's big. One chunk of, a 28% chunk, and it would be clean.
Schultz started a group bringing together local people and organizations like the Sierra Club to campaign in favor of offshore wind power.
We have a global climate crisis. Maybe our one project in Delaware will not swing the pendulum toward safety for the earth, but it will help. We need all the pendulum swinging we can get.
When it comes to public opinion, polling suggests views are changing in some states. A recent Monmouth University poll in New Jersey found support plunging from 76% to 54% in the last 4 years, and opposition to offshore power growing. Declining public support, one of the reasons perhaps fewer political leaders are willing to publicly support new wind projects. I think politicians are hesitating to talk about this issue right now. Have you gotten that sense?
Yes, it seems that they are, and of course, that's not my favorite kind of politician. I like it when people come out and say what they believe and stick by it, but they don't want to get out on a limb that will be cut behind them, I guess.
For now, Delaware's coastal waters remain undeveloped as a new industry and the people who have backed it work out a way to survive these tough economic headwinds.
So what exactly is so much more expensive about the offshore wind projects?
Well, it's largely because it's a new industry and the costs seem to grow every month. So, for example, a turbine could cost $3 to $5 million, but the bigger number is in building the platforms. We talked to Dominion Energy of Virginia. They contracted to build a ship to install the platforms, $625 million.
Oh my.
The cost to rent one, $220,000 a day. And then plus the maintenance on each of these turbines can be about $45,000 a year.
When these big projects are canceled, I'm sure there are a lot of tears when it comes to the possible economic impact it could have had.
Indeed. For example, in New Jersey, the Danish company that canceled the 2 projects, that was going to bring about 500 jobs, and it was expected to bring $5 billion in revenue to the state.
Big loss, but I guess depending on who you listen to, maybe it's the right thing to do. Thanks for bringing us both sides. Sure. Up next, an investigation into a group giving advice about what foods we should and shouldn't eat. You already know that Americans have been growing fatter and more disease-riddled in recent decades. Some of that's blamed on pesticides, preservatives, chemicals, and the food we eat. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics bills itself as the world's largest group of registered dietitian nutritionists. But what if the things they teach and the advice they give is tainted by corporations that make unhealthy food?
There's no question that over the last, say, 25 years, there has been a kind of a slide into the corrupt swamps of taking money from the ultra-processed food industry. And we can see the effects of it in our, in our waistlines and in the rates of diabetes and cardiovascular disease across the country.
Gary Ruskin heads the watchdog group U.S. Right to Know. Its 5-year investigation looked into tens of thousands of pages of internal documents from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and its website, eatright.org.
What we found was that the Academy accepted about $15 million from companies and organizations, from ultra-processed food companies, from pharmaceutical companies, from agribusiness companies. We also found that
Ruskin says top contributors to the dietitians group included National Dairy Council, ConAgra, maker of a lot of processed food, Abbott Nutrition and Laboratories, which make baby formula and products for people with diabetes and heart disease, Pepsi, Coke, Hershey, General Mills, Kellogg, the National Confectioners Association, which represents the candy industry, and pesticide manufacturer Bayer Crop Science.
When they accept money from an industry like that, is the theory or allegation that they're then taking action to protect the industry, or just simply taking no action to go after that industry as a nutrition threat?
There's some of both of that. It's a lot of it is kind of sin of omission sort of thing. For example, when you look at what the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says about ultra-processed food, what they don't say is don't eat added sugars and don't eat junk food and don't eat candy. And so that's exactly what the ultra-processed food companies want them to say, to stay away from the don'ts.
How did this group get its prominence as a nutrition group that certifies people and holds this kind of sway?
Because they are so useful to these industries, they are promoted by the industries in some ways, and so it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. It's good for everyone.
The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics says the U.S. Right to Know report is inaccurate and misleading and denies that its corporate funding influences policies. The Academy has stringent guidelines and principles that prohibit external influence, does not endorse any company brand or company products, maintains final editorial control and approval of all content in materials, and there is a clear separation of Academy messages and content from brand information or promotion.
What do you think could or should be done about an alleged conflict of interest like this?
The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics has got to go clean and stop taking the corrupt money from the ultra-processed food industry. But people have got to demand it and say, look, we're just not going to listen to dietitians anymore until they're honest.
What is it you think the public should know in the big picture?
The big picture is that our nation's dietitian organization is not trustworthy for information, and that people need to find better sources of information, sources that do not have conflicts of interest.
Many studies blame ultra-processed foods in part for skyrocketing heart disease, diabetes, obesity, cancer, and dementia. A new report in the Washington Post says registered dietitians are being paid to post videos promoting diet soda and sugar on Instagram and TikTok. Ahead on Full Measure, a look back at America's heroic truth tellers. Way back in 1778, the Continental Congress unanimously passed America's first whistleblower law. It recognized the duty to give the earliest information to Congress of any misconduct, frauds, or misdemeanors committed by anyone working for government. 246 years later, whistleblowers have an incredible record of changing the course of history.
Okay. This is the easy job.
Perhaps the most dramatic recent whistleblower case involves the IRS probe of President Biden's son, Hunter.
My dad?
Two chief IRS investigators testified to Congress and recently spoke on Full Measure, saying the Justice Department under both Trump and Biden stepped in to protect the Bidens and keep the IRS from following leads regarding Joe Biden and foreign business dealings. Whistleblower Joseph Ziegler says he is gay and a Democrat, but apolitical.
The press and many people, actually in both political parties, say things such as, there's no evidence tying Joe Biden to Hunter Biden's businesses or any improper activities. When you hear that, what do you think?
I think it's blatantly false. I would wholeheartedly disagree with it.
Whistleblowing is about truth-telling.
Marcelle Reed was on the national board of the civil rights group Acorn in 2009 when she and several colleagues discovered crimes and cover-ups at the highest level.
I went on to report theft or embezzlement, however you wish to state it, within the organization.
Acorn had received millions in federal tax money and endorsed Barack Obama for president. The group eventually admitted the fraud and put the amount of embezzled funds at $5 million, but refused a forensic audit.
And as a result of blowing the whistle, you saw what happens too often, I guess, to whistleblowers, the treatment that you got. You were sort of dragged through the mud and smeared. Must have been tough.
It was tough. For me and 95% of the whistleblowers who do it, our lives are simply ruined. Luckily, I was resilient enough to overcome it, but I know so many who aren't. And I want to fight the perception that you blow the whistle, you get a book deal, you do a movie, and you become famous, because that isn't what happens.
Since then, Reed has put in a lot of energy toward helping other whistleblowers. That includes organizing an annual summit in Washington, D.C., and giving pillar awards to whistleblowers and First Amendment rights advocates. Award winners include Daniel Ellsberg. He leaked classified documents known as the Pentagon Papers to the New York Times in 1971, revealing America's involvement in the Vietnam War before the U.S. had acknowledged it. The Nixon administration tried to censor the material, but the Times won the right to publish. Another Pillar Award recipient is Frank Serpico. As a New York City police officer in the late 60s, Serpico blew the whistle on rampant police corruption on the force. Al Pacino played him in the 1973 movie.
We know how to handle guys like you. I had to cut your tongue out.
Al Pacino is Serpico.
Reed says whistleblowers may come under attack by the political right or left, government, media, whoever feels threatened.
The first thing I learned as a whistleblower is it doesn't matter that you're telling the truth about a particular side. What matters is that whatever the narrative is, you've thrown it off.
What would you say is the state of whistleblowing in America today?
People are calling themselves whistleblowers that are not. There's a simple rule for whistleblowing. You blew the whistle when something was at stake. That is when you blow the whistle. Not after your 401 is secure, your job is secure, and your kid has been accepted to whatever school you've slotted for them. Because it doesn't make what you're saying less true, but it does not make you a whistleblower.
And what is the sort of a takeaway message or the thing that you would want people to know about the whole idea of whistleblowing?
So people think that the defenders of democracy wear uniforms. That's absolutely true. But the ultimate defenders of democracy are those who are willing to tell the truth and withstand the cost. And there is no such thing as telling the truth and paying no cost.
Most whistleblowers get nothing but grief, but there are exceptions. Last year, under a special government program, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission paid an anonymous whistleblower a record $279 million in a case that led to corporate violators paying out $4 billion. After a break, an eye-opening update to our reporting on a controversial Alzheimer's drug. An update to our reporting on recently approved Alzheimer's drugs. You may recall FDA advisors and many independent watchdogs said there's no good evidence the hugely expensive shots make a meaningful difference and they could cause serious side effects, but the FDA approved them anyway. They approved it even though not one of the advisors they had consulted said it should be approved.
They did.
Dr. Caleb Alexander was one of the FDA advisors who voted against Aducanumab's approval. He's an epidemiologist, internist, and professor at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health.
The advisory committee, there was near consensus among the advisory panel that there just wasn't the evidence to warrant approval.
Did they really want advice from the advisors?
Well, it's a fair question, and in fact, 3 advisory committee members of the 10 or 11 or however many were on the committee, 3 resigned in protest of the FDA's decision.
Much of the controversy centers on the FDA's overt advocacy of a medicine that had failed miserably during the test phase. Drug maker Biogen stopped its 2 major studies midstream, determining that Aducanumab performed so poorly it was futile to go on. But within months, Biogen returned to the FDA, claiming to have found some evidence of benefit within the stopped studies, and the FDA enthusiastically endorsed the drug without a single of the completed large studies normally required.
Now, the maker of both drugs, Biogen, has announced it's pulling one of them off the market, Aducanumab. The watchdog group Public Citizen called the FDA's accelerated approval of Aducanumab against the advice of its advisors, quote, one of the most irresponsible and egregious decisions in the history of the agency. The remaining drug, lecanemab or Leqembi, has the most serious black box warning for brain swelling and bleeding risks. Biogen says the drug is safe and that even marginal effectiveness could give a loved one more days with family. Coming up next week on Full Measure, you may be hearing more about ranked choice voting, a confusing and controversial alternative to the usual system where the candidate with the most votes wins. It may soon be coming to an election near you.
It supports the majority outcomes of the last 2 candidates, but it doesn't always support the majority outcome among all the candidates. And at least recent history has shown that in the presence of certain types of electorate, candidates that have true majority support don't actually get selected.
A look at some surprising outcomes and both sides in the ranked choice debate next week on Full Measure. Until then, we'll be searching for more stories that hold powers accountable. Thanks for watching. I'm Sharyl Attkisson.